Those who corrupt the mind through flattery or manipulation. There is a kind of poison that does not come in a bottle. It comes in the form of praise, of charm, of a hand on the shoulder followed by a whisper, "You're better than the others." It feels good at first, but the Stoics warn us. Not all that feels good is good. It is difficult, wrote Epictetus, to walk blindfolded without stumbling. The intelligent person watches carefully for those who offer excessive approval, who praise without understanding, who agree too easily. These people are not friends. They are strategists. They do not want your growth. They want your attention. And attention is expensive. It costs clarity. It costs independence. It clouds the mind with the hunger for validation. Even now, this may seem subtle. You may think, surely there's no harm in being appreciated. And no, there isn't, when it is sincere, measured, earned. But the Stoic must ask, why is this person speaking to me this way? What do they stand to gain? If you do not pause to consider this, you are vulnerable to being led. Marcus Aurelius warned, be careful not to be caressed into stupidity. This includes the colleague who always flatters your ideas but never challenges them. The partner who builds you up only to guilt you later. The influencer who tells you you're brilliant for doing what is easy. These voices corrupt because they weaken your grip on truth. And a Stoic knows the truth is sacred. The moment you exchange it for comfort, you are lost. And just a quick note before we go deeper. If this resonates with you, if you find value in these reflections, consider subscribing and activating the bell icon. It helps bring more people into thoughtful dialogue, and it ensures you don't miss what's next. Now, back to the path. The intelligent person, guided by reason and not ego, cuts these people off silently. Why silently? Because explanation would be wasted. Because these people are not interested in dialogue. They are interested in leverage. The best response is absence. Not dramatic exits, not loud accusations, just absence. Clean, unannounced, unarguable. It is not unkind. It is not cold. It is simply aligned with nature. In the same way the body rejects what is toxic, so too must the mind. You do not need permission to protect your inner fortress. Seneca said, associate with those who will make a better man of you. He did not add, explain yourself to those who don't. This is not pride, it is protection. Your mind is your greatest possession. Guard it not with walls, but with wisdom. And that begins with knowing who does not belong inside. 2. Those who feed on misery, chaos, and gossip. Not every enemy attacks directly. Some smile, some laugh, some invite you to just talk. But what they want is not connection, it's contamination. Their pleasure lies in conflict. Their energy feeds on the anxious, the distracted, the addicted to drama. The Stoics had a word for such people, fools. Not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack governance of the soul. Avoid frequent conversations with men of noisy natures, warned Epictetus, lest you lose your balance without even noticing it. There is a silence that follows a wise mind, but there is a noise that clings to the untrained. The second type of person the intelligent man cuts off is not necessarily evil. More often, they are lost. But lost people who refuse direction become dangerous, not because of what they say, but because of what they make you become when you stay near them. Modern life disguises this danger well. It comes in endless group chats, in office gossip disguised as just venting, in media addiction passed off as staying informed. It is the friend who only calls to tell you who failed, who betrayed, who fell. It is the coworker who speaks of nothing but who's been fired, who's been caught, who's been cursed. These are not conversations. They are pollutions. The Stoic does not fear misfortune, but he does not seek it out through others' mouths. He does not consume suffering like entertainment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you become what you give your attention to. Sit too long with chaos and you will start calling it truth. Sit too long with gossip and you will start to see the world through suspicion and scorn. And here is the subtle danger. These people often look like allies. They nod when you're angry. They affirm your complaints. They say they're on your side. But the Stoic asks not, do they agree with me? But, do they elevate me? And if the answer is no, the separation must be made, silently, firmly, without cruelty, not because you hate them, but because you love your peace more than their noise. You love your clarity more than their chaos. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And who fuels that imagination? Often, it is the voices we allow near us. The intelligent person recognizes this, not once, but daily. They guard their gates, not out of paranoia, but out of discipline. And when the voices become too loud, too bitter, too eager to tear others down, they do not argue. They do not fight. They simply go quiet and walk away. 3. The nature of silent separation. The world is loud about leaving, breakups announced, friendships unfollowed with flair, public exits, digital blocks, and one final angry message to let them know. But the Stoic does not need spectacle. The intelligent person does not seek to prove a point, only to preserve their path. "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be," wrote Marcus Aurelius. Be one. The wise do not depart with noise. They do not crave recognition for their boundaries. They do not look back to see who noticed their absence. They simply cease to participate. The conversation dies. The reply never arrives. The energy is withdrawn. No explanation, no insult, just a quiet refusal to continue. This kind of separation confuses the modern mind, which is trained to equate silence with weakness or guilt. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Silence is strength. To remain still when provoked. To exit without need for applause. To go without taking part in the cycle of injury and justification. This does not mean we ghost everyone who offends us. Stoicism is not petty, it is precise. Silent separation is not impulsive. It is earned through observation. The Stoic watches, listens, measures, and only when it is clear that a relationship undermines reason, clarity, or virtue, then, and only then, the door is quietly shut. Think of it like this. Not every path must be walked to its end. Some trails lead into swamps. Some conversations lead into traps. Some people are tests in disguise. When the intelligent person sees this, they don't need to condemn. They don't need to convert. They simply don't continue. Just like a wise traveler does not blame the road, they simply take another one. And yes, people may talk. They may wonder where you went. They may call you cold, distant, or arrogant. That too is part of the discipline, to let people misunderstand you without needing to correct them. Epictetus put it clearly. If someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself against their accusations. Reply with, "He must not know me well if he thinks that." That is Stoic detachment. Not from people, but from the need to be seen rightly. Because in the end, true strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't stomp out of the room. It simply leaves and lets time speak for it. There is no virtue in drama. There is no wisdom in revenge. The intelligent person walks away without burning the bridge, not because they plan to return, but because they don't carry fire in their hands anymore. They carry calm, direction, purpose, and these things are too heavy to carry while dragging the noise of unnecessary people. The difference between cutting off and resentment. To cut someone off is not the same as to resent them. One is clean, the other is infected. Resentment clings. It is a wound left open, picked at in silence, fed in memory. The Stoic has no room for that. When the intelligent person separates, they do so with finality and without venom. Not because they suppress emotion, but because they refuse to be enslaved by it. Seneca reminds us, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. To carry resentment is to remain chained to the very person you're trying to escape. Your body leaves the room, but your mind stays there, replaying their words, reimagining their failures, rehearsing what you should have said. It is a second prison. And this one, you built yourself. The intelligent person knows. Resentment is self-sabotage dressed as justice. So what does the Stoic do? They cut off, but they don't curse. They walk away, but they don't wish harm. They remember, but they do not relive. Imagine this. A friend betrays you, lies, manipulates. You recognize the damage. And so, with clarity, you step away. But then what? Do you keep bringing them up to others? Do you scroll through their life online just to confirm they're failing? Do you feel a rush of pleasure when they stumble? That is not freedom. That is attachment through hate, and Stoicism calls us out of it. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of one of the greatest empires in history, had no time to indulge in revenge. He wrote, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that." Read that again. The best revenge is to become unlike what harmed you. When someone acts with dishonor and you respond with bitterness, you become their echo. You take their fire into your hands and burn yourself just to prove a point. But a Stoic chooses water over fire, stillness over noise, discipline over reaction. This is not softness, it is strength. To be kind does not mean to be naive. You can forgive without re-entering the room. You can release someone without inviting them back. Forgiveness is not permission. It is refusal. Refusal to let their flaws shape your future. And this forgiveness can be silent, private. No ceremony, no letter, no final speech, just a quiet resolve. I do not carry this anymore. So when the intelligent person cuts off a corrupting influence, they leave not only the person, they leave the need to punish them. They walk out whole, clean, light. And if the past knocks, if the old wound aches, they return to the practice. Breathe, observe, let it pass. Do not pick it back up, because resentment is a habit, but so is peace. V. Self-examination. What if you are the person to be cut off? It is easy to think of others, to point to the flatterers, the manipulators, the gossipers, and say, yes, I know someone like that. But the Stoic does not begin by judging others. He begins by judging himself. Let each man test his own actions, said Seneca. Then he can take pride in himself without comparing himself to somebody else. So stop. Turn inward. What if you are the person who drains? What if you're the one others avoid in silence? Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. This is not an accusation. This is an invitation. The Stoics believe the unexamined life is not only unwise, it is dangerous. Because without reflection, you walk in delusion. You mistake noise for confidence. You confuse attention for virtue. Ask yourself sincerely, do I speak more than I listen? Do I flatter when I want something? Do I thrive on knowing people's flaws? Do people feel lighter or heavier after leaving a conversation with me? These are not abstract questions. They're real diagnostics of the soul. You see, it is not enough to be the intelligent person who cuts others off. That can become its own form of pride, its own illusion of superiority. The deeper work is ensuring you're not someone others need to escape in order to grow. Epictetus asked, if someone handed your body over to a stranger, you would be furious, but you hand over your mind to anyone who insults you and let it wander, and you do not care. If your emotions are uncontrolled, if your words are careless, if your presence is rooted in insecurity masked as dominance, then yes, people will drift, and they may never explain why. And perhaps they shouldn't. That's not their failure. That's your signal. The Stoic welcomes these signals. Not with shame, but with discipline. He watches himself. He corrects, adjusts, refines. Because the true Stoic does not wish to be liked. He wishes to be worthy of trust, of respect, of stillness in another's presence. If people are withdrawing from you, don't chase, don't beg, and don't rage. Look inward. Find the place where chaos lives in you. Calm it. Where ego lives in you. Humble it. Where insecurity lashes out, soothe it. Because the wise man knows he too is capable of harm. But he also knows he is capable of change. And that is the final strength. Not to cut others off, not to walk away clean, but to look yourself in the mirror and say, today, I will be someone no one needs to escape. That is where the work begins.